I see this happen so often with so many moms. We start to lose ourselves for the sake of those to-do lists, for the sake of doing everything for everybody else, and putting ourselves not even at the bottom of the list. I was nowhere on my list because I was so busy judging my husband for taking his time off that if I would even consider doing something for myself, that means I would be out of integrity. How can I keep judging him if I then do the same thing? So I locked myself into impossible situation. I couldn't even consider taking a break because that would mean I would have to stop judging him. But that didn't sit well. Then what do I do? The childhood trauma therapy we are doing inside the program, and the first aha moments I had as a mom was when I realized, okay, it's all going back to my childhood. It's the hyperachiever, controlling perfectionist that my mom gave me because that was my mom's way of handling stress. And so that was my blueprint. By watching mom, this is how I learned how to go through tough, heavy, loaded life by doing it this way. By hyperachieving, constantly being on the run, never taking rest. And if you see anybody else taking rest, judging them for being lazy, not helpful, and it's their fault, and blaming everything on them. This is what I learned by watching my mom. And no matter how hard I try to change it, and for my life when I became a mom, it was hard because I didn't know. I still love and admire my mom. She was my hero always. I knew there were some parts that I wanted to do in a different way, but how? So the first step was I cleaned up that childhood. I cleaned up that pain of what results it had on me growing up with a mom like this, without blaming her, without finger pointing at her. And then I had to learn the healthy way of coping with stress, healthy way of, first of all, recognizing that these voices in my head, they're not telling the truth. It's not the truth that if I just keep running after my to-do list that it will get done, and then I will be worthy of feeling good about myself, feeling good enough, because that moment never comes. Because your to-do list never ends, right? The moment you run at the bottom, your super smart brain already figures out the next thing to put down there on the list, right? And there's always something that gets undone. So then at the end of the day, you're going to sleep and you're still feeling like, and I still have to do this. So I can't feel good about myself because I didn't do everything. And then even if you do everything that day, then I don't know how about your voices in my head, but mine were then criticizing me. Even if I did everything, I didn't do it perfectly or well enough. So then my perfectionist voices in my head kicked in saying like, well, you did this, but you could have spent more time, you could have done it better, and there are other moms who do it even better, and with a smile on their face, but you yelled at your daughter, you lost it. Thank you, perfectionist. Thank you, judge, in my head. Yeah. And even if everything would then be finished on my list and even being as perfect as possible, then my controlling voice would jump up in my head, starting to plan the next day. Of course, you're always 10 steps ahead, right? While you're trying to do what's on your plate today, you're already planning for the next day and week and month so that you can anticipate and make everything well organized and structured so that you can save time and be more efficient. Amazing. Great. How is that working for you? Well, it didn't work for me. All it did was leaving me stressed, resentful, not having any fun.